Hey, welcome to Viking Preparedness. That's my rooster. I am Pastor Joe Fox. And I see my string is broken. Well, this way. I haven't gotten eggs for a while. And my wife said, hey, we're out of eggs. And right now the birds are my job. So go get some eggs. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, yeah, it's been a while. 10, jeez. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 20. Eggs, which I thought, it's been a couple days since I came out here, and I think it illustrates a point that I want to talk about today. Let me get this camera better. Can I set it up here? No. All right, I know, hold on. You guys know I am not a movie crew. Lift this up. Up, 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 up. All right, there we go. So the point, that I wanted to talk about today is the concept of he who does not work shall not eat. Jamestown, colony of Southern Virginia, started out with very roughly, I'm painting with a broad brush. My wife is more the historian on this stuff than I am, but about half the guys on the ships that came over were noblemen, rich guys, merchants, dudes with money that paid their way to the New World, right? And to them it was a new world. And the other half were poor sots like they want to turn you and me into, you know, people who had nothing. The haves and the, what is it? Not haves? No, they didn't have anything. And so these rich people paid the poor people's way across to the New World, not because they just were nice guys who wanted to give everybody a shot, but because they wanted laborers, because they thought they would go to the New World and kill it, right? Make a lot of money. And mostly the merchants would make a lot of money, and they would pay their workers, you know, whatever it took to keep them working. That was the plan. And so they come over, and there's hostiles, and, you know, they build their 3-sided fort in the swamps, and malnutrition, mosquitoes, malaria, Indian predation. Man, those guys started dying quick. Lots of them died, and it got to the point where there weren't really enough of them to have the system of the haves and the have-nots. I'm the merchant. I paid for your way over here. You have to go grow my mung beans, right? There just weren't enough people to do it. And so John Smith, who I don't think was the first leader of Jamestown, I think the first leader died. Anyway, John Smith becomes the leader, and he tells the rich guys, hey man, you guys need to put your hand to the plow. You need to start working because we don't have enough people for our little, basically slaves to make our food and build our houses and stuff. And the rich men were like, well, that's not what I do, woof, woof, woof. And so John Smith had a sign made, and he hung it up over the gate of Jamestown, and it said, the Bible verse, he who does not work shall not eat. It's like, dudes, if you don't put in the labor, you don't get chow. You're on your own. You want to be part of this group? You work. It's a biblical principle. Proverbs 6:6, go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways and be wise, who stores up her meat, her food, in the summer, so that in the winter, she's squared away. So the ant has to work during the summer so that it has food in the winter. If it doesn't work, it does not eat. Stephen Smith wrote the trilogy I'm reading, the Stonemont series. He hits that point pretty hard. And you got to work. You got to work for what you have. And we've lost that. I remember back in like 1985, another friend of mine, we were talking about immigration, illegal and otherwise. And I was probably on the side then of, talking badly about illegal immigrants and how they're stealing our jobs and yada, yada, yada. And he said, you know what, man? He said, we have lost in this country, and he was talking about Americans as opposed to illegal aliens. He said, we have lost in this country what made us great. And I said, what's that? And he said, the work ethic. Nobody wants to work anymore. People are afraid to work, and so these jobs are available for these illegal aliens to come and get. I know all the arguments counter to that, but in a large degree, it's true. And I guess I'm going on a mini rant. My son worked in a, I'm about to get racial. My son worked in a lumber yard type place, and one of his jobs there was to deliver drywall to building sites. They're building a house, they need more drywall. He would load it in a truck, take it out there and offload it. And this was in Kansas. And he said there were no integrated crews. There were either white crews or Mexican crews. That was it. And he said when he got out to a job site with this load of drywall for a house, and it was a white crew, he'd get out there about 9:30ish, right? 9 o'clock, somewhere around there. They'd all be standing around smoking and drinking coffee, and they would watch him unload all of the drywall over there. Nobody's working. They're all just sitting around jaw-jacking, watching him unload the drywall, which they paid for, and which the company said, yeah, we'll deliver it to your site, which means we'll unload it. But they wouldn't help. When he went to the Mexican crews, the Mexicans are building a house, he said they would tell him, get out of the way, you're not moving fast enough. They would not only unload the drywall for him, as they were unloading it, they were passing it into a house and a dude was hanging it. Work ethic. I had a house one time that had a flood, pretty bad flood in it, and we had good insurance, and so the whole house had to be redone, gutted and redone. And over the painful course, because the company was a white company, just sticking with the theme here. You hate your own race. I know I can hear this if this was on YouTube. I don't. I'm just pointing out facts. But it was a longer than it needed to be painful process. Different crews would come to the house, rip out crews, drywall crews, mud and tape crews, paint crews, put the floor in crews, kitchen cabinet crews. I mean, just all these different crews would come in. It wasn't one company that did it all. And the white crews that showed up to a man were always either drunk or high or hungover badly every time. Their work was shoddy, had to be redone a couple times. The Mexican crews that came in, my God, those men worked, and they worked well. They did a good job. They knew what they were doing. They were awesome. In that area, if I had to have work done based on that experience, which took a few months, and I'm telling you, probably 10 different crews come in my house, I would definitely figure out how to hire a Mexican crew. Has nothing to do with, well, they're cheaper than the white guys for the money. Because honestly, I don't know how much the crews cost. I had insurance. The insurance company handled all that. I don't know what they cost. I'm talking about work ethic. He who does not work shall not eat. That applies to more than, we've got a welfare mentality, EBT cards that people can go get better food than I can afford to buy, or that I want to afford to buy, maybe is better put. You got poor people in America that have new rims on their cars and a big screen TV and a phone with internet service. Come on, man, they're not working. And so, hold on, I'm gonna bring this back more. So that's food and working and not eating, but it goes bigger than that if you start getting metaphorical about it. I just got done with a run. I'm gonna go do push-ups and crunches and flutter kicks when I'm done with this video. And that's work. That's hard work for me. It's hard work for anybody who's doing it right, right? If you want to live, you got to be fit, right? If you want to eat of the fat of life, you got to work. He who does not work shall not eat. Man, I could turn this into a religious sermon right now, but I'm not gonna. But I just got an inspiration. But I may talk about it next week on my other channel. Work versus eat. So when the balloon goes up, I did a video the other day where I talked about the way you are now is the way you're going to be then, as far as emotions and getting mad about things and dealing with stress and that kind of things. And so looking at how people are now, you can kind of extrapolate and see how they're going to be later to a degree. The people that today hold on, I'm going to throw some rocks. The people that, hold on, I'm going to throw more rocks. See, they just run far enough away and then keep yelling. Hey, cut it out. The people that get along today that don't work, the lazy people, whether they're really lazy sitting on the couch all day, the men who sit at home and make their wives work, are you kidding me? The people who go to work and don't do their job, they're just constantly in a get over skate mode. Those people who don't earn their money, what do you think they're gonna do when the balloon goes up? Do you think they're suddenly gonna change and decide they're gonna be hard workers by the sweat of their brow? Shall they eat their bread? Do you think they're gonna do that? No, they're in a groove, baby. And if they can find a way to get over, they're going to. And so here's my point. I did a talk one time about mags, and a friend of mine who's a mag leader was telling me he had people who considered themselves part of his mag who never did anything. I told him, kick them to the curb. If they're not participating now, they're not going to want to participate later. They want the benefits, supposed, of being in a mag, but they're not willing to put in the work. You can see it today in the Viking group meetings. Who's helping out that group leader? Get that meeting going? Who's helping organize the next thing? Who's volunteering to, I'll teach a class, I'll bring food, I'll do this, who's doing that? And who's just sitting back sucking it in and eating? We need to get more to the biblical principle. He who does not work shall not eat. And we need to apply that today. You need to cut some baggage loose in your life. If people aren't coming to something, they're not part of that thing. Whether they're on the rolls, whether they think they are or not, if they're not working, if they're not putting in the time, they're not part of it. You need to get your head wrapped around that, because the decisions you make today are going to carry over later. If you're letting people skate today, you're going to let them skate later. And that's going to be to your detriment. Start thinking about that. What are you going to do? That's why I say you should already have a list. For those of you who plan on staying put when the balloon goes up, and that's always should be plan A. You should live in a place where you can stay put when the balloon goes up, right? So I'm planning on staying put, and my brother may want to come over, and his family and his good-for-nothing teenage daughter, and whatever. And I'm not talking about my brother. I like my niece, but that kind of thing. Have a list of chores for them to do right away and put them to work right away. I mean, within minutes of arrival, task them to do things. And if they don't do it, kick them to the curb. Before they get all wrapped into the fabric that is your burgeoning community. He who does not work shall not eat. Start applying that in your life. Apply it to yourself first, and then start applying it to the people around you. Some people are redeemable. Some people just have to be shown the error of their lazy ass ways. Some people are not. And what I find, I've had people here who said, yeah, we want to come be apprentices, yada, yada, yada. And they show up, and for a day, maybe, they work. Then the excuses come. And and they just don't work. I've had other people here who come and work me into the dirt. And you know what? I appreciate those people. I know who they are. Get out there and work. Do the things. Tell the people around you, hey, to participate, you got to work. You got to do the things. Membership has its benefits, but you should not extend those benefits to people who haven't truly earned membership. All right, I'll see you out there.